Oh no.
Like zoinks! And welcome to a pop culture look in the movies. I'm Azza the Pop Culture Viking, and today we're going to be looking at one of the most famous live-action cartoon movies of all time, 2002's Scooby Doo. Now I bet you're wondering, out of all the movies, why would I choose this one? Well, but however, I did want to look into this movie on its history, its pop culture impact, and its spot in cinema. Now before we get started guys, if you do like videos like this, don't forget to hit that notification button, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and if there's a movie that you guys would like for me to cover, feel free to comment down below, and if you're just joining us, feel free to click here for our previous episodes, and with that being said, and with spoilers ahead, let's get into it. Producer Charles Roven began developing a live-action treatment of Scooby Doo in 1994. By the end of the decade, the popularity of Scooby Doo Where Are You, along with the addition of the script and updated digital animation, led Warner Brothers to fast-track the production of the film. Now Mike Myers was reported to be co-writing the screenplay with Jay Kogan in July of 1998 and was highly interested in playing Shaggy as well. That's actually a surprise to me. I didn't know Austin Powers wanted to play Shaggy so badly. In October 2000, the film was officially given the green light and Raja Gosling was hired as the director. Filming was primarily shot in Queensland, Australia, with production starting in February of 2001. The filming locations were set at Warner Brothers Movie World theme park on the Gold Coast, and the Spooky Island scenes were shot at Tangalooma Island Resort for 6 weeks with 400 cast and crew members. Now for Hollywood movies, Australia is a go-to country to film movies in the late 90s and early 2000s as it was cheaper to film in the country. And us Aussies have had some big name films here like The Matrix, Star Wars Episode 2 and 3, and recently some Marvel movies, and most recently The Fall Guy. Okay, now that Scooby-Doo had the green light and the filming locations were found, now all that was left to do was to figure out what type of Scooby-Doo story to do. So before directing superhero films like the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and the Suicide Squad, James Gunn was actually a writer who has written for films like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. Shoot him in the head! Yeah, just the type of guy you want to hire to make a kids film. But he was the type of guy you'd hire as Warner Brothers actually had the idea to make Scooby-Doo made for adults and not as a kids movie. The film was originally set to have a much darker tone, essentially poking fun at the original series much like the Brady Bunch movie, and was set up as a PG-13 rated film. Shaggy was set to be a stoner, and there were many marijuana references, and there was even an on-screen kiss scene between Velma and Daphne during the soul-swapping scene that was actually filmed but never made the final cut. And there's no footage of it available, so don't bother looking for it, you bloody pervs. James Gunn has even said in a 2017 interview for the 15th anniversary that there was an R-rated version where CGI was used to cover excessive cleavage for the female cast. Seriously, what the f*** is going on with this film? But during the filming, a change was made to make the film more family-friendly after everyone has signed on, but some of the original adult jokes still made it into the final product. God, that got weird. Anyway, let's look at the casting that we got. Well, Freddie Prinze Jr. signed on as Fred, and Sarah Michelle Gellar signed on as Daphne, which both Fred and Sarah got together and ended up getting married thanks to I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scooby Doo. Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, which Mike Myers was still interested in, but then Jim Carrey was attached but then dropped out until Matthew Lillard got the part. Linda Cardellini as Velma, who was a huge fan of the Scooby Doo show, along with Australia's own Isla Fisher in her first Hollywood film as Mary Jane. Do you get it? Wink wink. And Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Montevarious, the owner of Spooky Island. Okay, now that the cast and crew was ready, the only thing that was left was, how the hell were they going to bring Scooby-Doo to life? As for the special effects, sorry to break the news to you guys, but Scooby-Doo isn't real. Kurt Williams and Peter Crossman were brought on board as the visual effects producer and supervisor. Now, it wasn't easy to bring Scooby-Doo to life as they had to build him from the ground up with CGI and computer imagery. And they just couldn't get a guy in a suit to just play Scooby-Doo. It had to be done as Scooby is a cartoon character due to his movements, face expressions, and cartoonish behaviour. But this did lead to some of the actors basically acting against literally nothing. Like, there wasn't a guy dressed in a green screen suit or anything. except for the airport scene. Like Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays Fred, had to look at a head on a stick so he knows where to look. Rowan Atkinson said he had to be in an empty room talking to an empty chair. That was literally it. And give Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy, a bloody case of beer because he had to do 80% of the film acting against literally nothing. Hang on, why did Freddie Prinze Jr. get a head on a stick, Rowan Atkinson gets a chair, but all Matthew Lillard got was nothing and just tape on the floor? God, they should have just got the guy in the suit. But Neil Fanning provided the voice of Scooby Doo Scooby-Doo and was on set to deliver the lines. Thank God they had someone to talk to at least. As for the monsters, James Gunn wrote the monsters to be real as they didn't want it to be a man in a mask again and to make it different. While there are a couple of moments in the film of a guy being in a mask, that's all Scooby-Doo was, and they wanted to catch the moviegoers off guard. So just like Scooby-Doo, the special effects team were tasked to create the creatures, but the actors and actresses had to do some physical stuff with blue screen and again react to nothing while getting flung into the air with wires and doing dangerous looking stunts. Man, I'm surprised nobody had a mental breakdown after the filming of Scooby-Doo 2002. But after all that hard work and dedication, filming wrapped on June the 1st, 2001. And with a release date of June 14th, 2002, Scooby-Doo was brought to the big screen. But now let's look at the positives and the negatives of the film. Let's get the negatives out of the way, shall we? First, the movie is definitely dated. Like, if you want to prove to someone what the year 2002 looked like, show them Scooby-Doo 2002. Now, people will get nostalgic watching this, but my god, it's a time capsule. And let's not forget the celebrity cameos like Pamela Anderson, and heck, why not? Throw Mark McGrath and Sugar Ray in there because it's 2002. Some of the jokes are mostly farting and burping, which I did find funny when I was, 7 years old, but the other jokes are fine. The CGI has definitely not aged well. Like, Scooby-Doo himself looks pretty decent, probably 80% of the time, but the monsters look way too clunky at times. And look, it's sometimes not the animators' faults. They had a deadline and had to build animation from the ground up. There's also some moments where some of the extras are very cringy in the background. Now, I want to talk about the villains. There's 3 of them. First, the bald guy with the tattoos, and I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce his name.
My name is Nuku Sauna.
Is not a bad person as an obvious bad guy. We've also got a professional wrestler who's a muscled henchman in there for Daphne to fight later. I mean, hey, when you got Buffy the Vampire Slayer on set, you may as well use her. And we get the reveal that Mr. Montevarious was the villain the whole time, but it turns out that the real Montevarious was held prisoner and that it was, drumroll please,
puppy power! I'm outsmarted!
Yeah, let's talk about Scrappy Doo for a sec. So for those who don't know their Scooby-Doo lore, Scrappy Doo was introduced later in the cartoon series because the creators wanted to add stuff to the series to make it new and fresh, but fans of Scooby-Doo hated the character. It's basically the Poochie situation from The Simpsons. But in Scooby-Doo 2002, the Scrappy Doo reveal caused a bit of backlash because people hated the idea of Scrappy Doo becoming a mad villain because he was made fun of and kicked out of the gang earlier in the film, even though people hated the character anyway. Also, the original villain was going to be revealed as Old Man Smithers, who was the lunar ghost at the beginning of the film, because yeah, that makes sense. But now let's look at the positives.
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
Well, for starters, the cast is definitely on point. Even though Freddie Prinze Jr.'s hair was destroyed due to the bleach in his hair he pulled off for Fred. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Daphne is definitely on point. Linda Cardellini as Velma is dead on, but the fan favourite is Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, who would actually go on to continue voicing the character in future Scooby-Doo TV shows and films after the original voice actor stepped down due to health reasons. Now, definitely this film is a throwback, especially for Scooby-Doo fans, like with the tropes of finding clues, unmasking villains, and the mystery machine, and of course the portrayal of the characters. You just basically watch this and you know it's Scooby-Doo. And lastly, it's definitely a nostalgic movie from the early 2000s. Obviously, a lot of people in their 30s back then weren't rushing to see the film, but for kids who grew up in the 2000s, like myself, had this movie in their collection. And yes, it is a kids movie, but I've spoken to people who are my age who still love this movie as it was a big part of their childhood. And that's the thing, different generations have childhood movies that when you become an adult, you still love them even though they are way out of your age bracket. Well, with my generation, Scooby-Doo is one of the many movies that a lot of people love even in their adulthood. Well, now that we covered as much as we could, what about the overall story that we got for the final product? Well, after solving another mystery, the gang decide to split up and then 2 years later are brought together after being invited to solve a mystery at a mysterious island resort known as Spooky Island. The gang are then tasked by Mr. Montevarious to inspect the island as it is introducing us to a mysterious cult who are worshipping monsters. Now, Scooby-Doo is not shy from bringing in real monsters before, as shown in previous animated films, but it's definitely a unique and interesting story with the Scooby-Doo gang. And lastly, what did fans and critics think of the film along with its box office, merchandise and marketing? Well, critics weren't too great on the Scooby-Doo movie, so I'll let Obi-Wan Kenobi take over.
Oh, not good.
So Scooby Doo 2002 holds a Rotten Tomatoes score of 32% for critics, and with an audience score of 40%. Now while the critics praised that the Scooby Doo gang were just dead on and on point, but the main issues for critics was that it was a tired live action movie filled with lame jokes. Everyone's favourite film critic Robert Ebert gave the film a 1 out of 4 stars, stating that the film exists in a closed universe and the rest of us are aliens. The internet was invented so that you can find someone else's review on Scooby Doo. Critics know that this is a kids movie, right? But fans on the other hand love this film so much they would jump in front of a bullet for it. It's mainly fans who watched this movie as a kid and find it as a nostalgic guilty pleasure film. Like, I actually watched this recently before I even thought about making a video of this, and I can't help but to love this film for the nostalgia. And with the box office, with a budget of $84 million, the film made $275.7 million at the box office. So it was definitely a massive hit, earning 3 times the budget. And having competition with Disney's Lilo and Stitch, which had an $80 million budget and earned $273.1 million at the box office. So Scooby Doo beat Lilo and Stitch just by $2.6 million. As for the marketing and merchandise, on November 16, 2001, the first trailer of Scooby Doo was released in theaters with the opening of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Which is ironic because the trailer for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets debuted during the cinema run of Scooby Doo, where people saw the trailer for that film and left. Feel free to click here if you'd like to see that particular Harry Potter episode. A video game based on the film was released for the Game Boy Advance shortly before the film was released. The game is played in the third-person point of view and has multiple puzzle games and mini-games. The game received mixed reviews. Meanwhile, Dairy Queen began promoting the film with kids' meal toys, frozen cakes, and a limited edition Mystery Crunch Blizzard flavour. As for Warner Brothers Movie World in Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, it was a big deal that they filmed at the theme park, so the Scooby Doo Spooky Coaster was officially open on the 17th of June 2002 and is still there to this day. But don't book your plane tickets just yet, as I went to Movie World recently and the ride was closed due to maintenance and is currently being refurbished and won't be reopening until 2025. The film was released on VHS and DVD on October 11, 2002. The release included deleted scenes, among them an alternative opening animated in the style of the original TV series. It was later released on Blu-ray on January 16, 2007. Said Blu-ray was given a double feature pack with its sequel, Monsters Unleashed, on November 9, 2010. A soundtrack was also released which featured artists like the Atomic Fireballs, Sugar Ray, Shaggy, not that one, this one, and Outkast, with the music video of their song Land of a Million Drums featuring in the Scooby Doo VHS and DVD extras. God, Land of a Million Drums is such a banger. They don't make music for kids' movies like they used to. As for awards, Sarah Michelle Gellar won the Teen Choice Awards for Movie Actress in a Comedy, but Freddie Prinze Jr. was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Supporting Actor, which was given to Hayden Christensen for Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. And the film was also nominated for the Most Flatulent Teen Targeted Movie, which lost against Jackass the Movie. Fucking Razzies, I swear to God. But it also won the Kids' Choice Award for Favourite Fart in a Movie. Christ, gotta love early 2000s award shows, am I right? Matthew Lillard will also make a cameo role in the movie Looney Tunes Back in Action, where he is having lunch with Shaggy and Scooby Doo, where the duo threatened Matthew Lillard about his performance to tease for the sequel. Yeah, if I owed someone money, the last thing I want is Shaggy and Scooby Doo being sent to bust my kneecaps. Now looking back at Scooby Doo 2002, while critics personally disliked the film, and critics are the worst when it comes to movies, Scooby Doo is a classic kids film that is still beloved by adults born in the 90s and early 2000s. There have been Q&As with the actors and actresses from the Scooby Doo gang that have stated that they weren't too sure how to feel about the film and have felt that it was a bit embarrassing. But fans have come to the meet and greets and Q&As who have told the cast that Scooby Doo is a special part of their childhood and that the film has helped them during hard times and the film means a lot to them. To which the cast have had a bit of a turnaround on their comments and now appreciate the film with how much it means to a lot of fans and how beloved the film is. Matthew Lillard had stated that he had to watch a lot of Scooby-Doo just to get the character right for the film, and after the film he had said, if I watch another Scooby-Doo episode, it would be too soon. But it has come around after fans have said that Shaggy was their favourite part of the film, with Matthew Lillard appreciating and feeling emotion when fans comment about how much they love Scooby-Doo, how much that means to him, and is very grateful of his fans. And he's the nicest person in the world. Now, while it's not a perfect film, Scooby Doo was definitely popular enough to become a beloved kids movie that us adults would love to show the next generation of kids and have gotten together with families for a quiet Friday movie night. And thanks to the success of Scooby Doo 2002, there was no reason that it shouldn't get a sequel in a few years' time. But that's all the time for we have today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Scooby Doo 2002. And again, if you do like these videos, don't forget to hit that notification button. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if there's a movie that you'd like for me to cover, feel free to comment down below. And with that being said, I'm Azza the Pop Culture Viking. Always love pop culture, and don't forget to smile.
Miss Hoover, the movie's over.
Down in front.